We are live. Let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome back to another live and amplified indie fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we're back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we got a very special guest joining us. We got Jeremy Bowman. How's it going today, man?
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's going very well, Tom.
Glad to have you here. It's one of those things where it's just kind of like, it's probably morning, evening, anywhere somebody's listening to this. So it's kind of funny that you did that. So
it's 5 o'clock somewhere, as we say, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. So how's everything going in your world? You got a new single getting ready to drop here in little less than a month, right?
Yeah, man, everything's going well. We've cut a bunch of new singles in the last 3 months and been dropping them like one after another. And very fortunate. The folks on Spotify have been very nice to us. So we've got some big numbers there on these. So thank you to all the fans that have been downloading the music.
Nice. Yeah. And now is it all building to like a bigger project, or is the singles kind of like where you like to be right now?
Yeah, I think we'll probably release them all on an EP at some point. But for now, singles seem to be the name of the game as far as, releases are concerned and driving numbers. And, I don't try to get too caught up in that stuff, man. I just try to have a bit of fun,
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, that's why everybody got into the music business, because it's fun, right?
I mean, yeah, I think it's a blast, get up there on stage and, run around, and if the stage is big enough, of course, run around and, get the crowd going and, do a couple shots and have a beer and,
Right.
it's all a bunch of fun,
You speak like you've been on some stages that weren't that big, like some very small stages.
I've paid my dues, man. I've played all the places down in Nashville. I've played stages that are about the size of a postcard.
Yeah.
So you kind of get spoiled when you get to these bigger stages, and you open up for some of the big guys. I would say I'm the guy before the guy. We've been fortunate enough to open up for guys like Aldine and Luke and those kind of guys, and we've got some shows coming up this summer where we'll be on some big stages. So
Nice. That's cool. That's got to be very rewarding, knowing like all the years of hard work and to see it kind of starting to pay off with like the reception to your music, but then also getting asked to join people on tours, and like the next step is you headlining your own tours and doing your own big shows like that. So
yeah, that'd be nice.
Right. So growing up, who introduced you to music? Was that something that you kind of discovered yourself, or were your parents musical? Like, I guess what's kind of your background?
Man, without, divulging my age too much, I grew up in an era where vinyl was king. Music was such a huge staple of growing up. We would save up our money to go to the record store and buy the newest album. And, whether it was, Kiss or, some kind of rock group, like that, or you'd rush home with that record, and you'd put it on, and while you were listening, you would, you'd read every, the front, the back, the cover, the inside, the outside, the way it smelled. So yeah, man, music was always a big part of growing up. And as far as who introduced me to music, I come from a musical family. I remember, pretty diverse. My mother on Saturday mornings, waking up to her vacuuming the house to things like Otis Redding, and stuff like that. So it was always kind of diverse, and and everything from that to Fleetwood Mac to to Willie Nelson to Johnny Cash. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So pretty diverse.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel it.
Yeah.
And where'd you grow up at? Like, yeah.
I grew up in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I come from a little old town called Levittown,
Okay.
Pennsylvania. Yeah,
Okay.
land of shopping malls and car lots.
Fair. 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 Is that closer to Philly or Pittsburgh?
Closer to the East Coast. We'd be
Okay.
closer to Philly, so we're definitely Eagles fans.
Okay. Fair enough. I don't know. I'm a Bears fan. I just cannot get behind the Eagles. Like there's some bad blood there. I'll just say that. So
Yeah, well, you're a Dallas fan, or?
no, I'm a Chicago Bears.
Oh, that's right. You're from Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. It's it's nothing personal. It's just one of those things. It's like, yeah. So,
Yeah.
um, so growing up around Philly, did you go in and catch shows in Philly, or
Oh yeah,
was it?
man. We have some great venues here. I mean, Philly's such a musical town. I mean, you've got so much music just pouring out of this city over time, over the
Mm-hmm.
years. So, as much as I love country, um, you know, I love all the old school 80s pop music.
Yeah.
When I'm in the gym, man, I'm listening to like bad 80s pop stuff from like Duran Duran and stuff like that.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm not
That's
ashamed to say it.
right. That's kind of what my mom raised me on. Like I grew up in the '90s and the '70s and '80s, like that kind of genre or that kind of era of rock music and pop music is kind of where she put me. So it's like I feel you when you say that. So
Yeah, yeah, right on.
yeah. So kind of looking at your current musical project, you've got Shakedown, which is coming out on the 11th, correct?
Yeah.
What's the story behind this song?
I didn't write this one. Sometimes I leave that to like the guys in Nashville that like
Mm,
that's what they do. They
mm,
just live, breathe, and eat that whole process. So yeah, Shakedown. It's about the hot chick in the bar, and she's so hot that she's just shaking all the guys down for their money.
mm.
You know,
That's
but it's a cool song, man. As soon as I heard it, I mean, I can tell if a song is for me within the first 10 seconds
mm,
hearing something, and it was just such a badass song that I was like, man, I gotta cut this one.
right, right. And so did you cut? I'm guessing you cut it in Nashville.
Yeah, my producer is Johnny Garcia.
Mm,
He plays lead guitar for Garth Brooks for the last 25 years. He's also Trisha Yearwood's music director. So pretty fortunate to have him on my team, and it's a good collaboration. Everything I've done has been with him. Through
nice.
anything country has been done with him.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. That's really cool. So obviously you still got like a month leading up to this release, but like, where's kind of your headspace at? Are you already thinking about the next release, or are you like so focused on making this and giving this the biggest push it can? Like, where are you kind of at in your
Yeah,
headspace?
I mean, we're talking about shooting a video for one of these tracks, whether it's Shakedown, Country Money. Um, so there's another one that came out February 14th.
Mm,
It's kind of a lovey-dovey song. It's called Keep On Loving on You. And that's got a lot of really good response on Spotify. So, I'm not sure which one we're going to shoot, but, um, I enjoy the process, shooting videos. The
mm-hmm,
last one we shot was for a song called Dust and Bone,
mm-hmm.
which we shot out in the Nevada desert.
Nice.
And we had you can see this on CMT or look it up on YouTube or whatever, but it's called Dust and Bone, and it was so cool shooting that particular video. We actually had Cirque du Soleil in this thing, and there's all these people doing all these crazy things that I was just amazed with, and Johnny Garcia, my producer, is in it, and he begrudgingly, like, we made him do it. we built this guitar that shoots fire out of the neck, like 30 feet into the air. So as soon as he heard we were building that for him, he's like, I'm in, I'm doing it. Let's go.
Mhm. Right. Right.
So,
That's really cool. I'm always a huge fan of music videos in general, just
mhm,
because I feel like in the 80s and 90s and even the early 2000s, like music videos were the thing. They were like the, I don't want to say the make it or break it thing, but like they were
mhm,
very revered. But then like once MTV stopped being less music and more TV,
mhm.
I feel like music videos kind of went by way of the dodo. But now over the last 4 or 5 years, I feel like they're really starting to make a resurgence with YouTube becoming very prevalent in the music industry, and then Spotify also making visual components for music being very up in your face when you're listening to music. I think you're starting to see music videos really start to make a comeback. So,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you'll get more streams and views on, YouTube and social media than, you probably would on like, CMT or something.
mhm. While yes, CMT and all that stuff is still very culturally relevant, I just don't think it has the same pull power that it used to back in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah,
So,
oh, yeah, for sure.
you know, so kind of as you're kind of going through that process of just like trying to figure out what the next move is, whether it's shooting a music video for Shakedown or if you want to take a step back and do one for your previous release, how do you kind of balance everything? Like this is always kind of an interesting conversation because I feel like balance is something that people don't talk about, whether it's like between your personal life and your music, or do you feel like you have a pretty good grasp on balancing everything?
I mean, it can be a lot, and it can, I don't want to say burdensome. I always say, some guys have different hobbies, like, some guys golf or some people have a boat or what have you. I don't really do any of that stuff, I have my like outdoor hobbies, hunting and that sort of thing. But, that time for me on stage is what I call my me time,
Mm-hmm.
to connect with the audience and just have a bunch of fun. But as far as balancing it, man, this go around for me, coming back to music, coming back to country, and being fortunate enough to sort of have these stepping stones that have been placed in front of me. I've been very fortunate, but I just kind of tell myself that I'm just here to have some fun, and I don't really take it too seriously. And to me, it's just like having a big party once you get out there on stage,
Right.
you know.
And how long of a, you said like coming back to music, how long of a break, how long did you kind of step away or take a break
Man,
or?
20 years,
Mm,
stepped away from it, focused on family and career. And, I was, kind of dabbling in it. And, my producer, Johnny, actually reached out to me. We kind of knew each other through a mutual friend. And I didn't even know who he was. And he called me up and just said, "Hey, man, I really dig your voice. Why don't you come down to Nashville and, let's make some music?" And
yeah,
it's kind of where we started and led us to here. So,
nice. And was it like the pandemic that kind of brought you back, or like was that right around the pandemic time, or when did
no,
you
no, it
kind of?
was before that. I've probably been back at it for the last, I would say 8 or 10 years.
Okay.
So it's not like it's been a minute. Um, and like I said, man, we just kind of started out, in the small clubs in Nashville and did that whole tour, and then we were just fortunate enough to start opening up for these other guys, and so that's where it's at, man.
Nice. I feel that.
Yeah.
And then where you kind of at show wise? I know you had mentioned you got some really cool stuff in the works there, but
Mhm.
are you playing consistently right now, or are you just kind of like where are you kind of at show wise?
We're kind of booking, one-offs. We have some big festivals. I don't play too much in the winter and fall. But we have, let's see, we have something called the CCMF coming up, Carolina Country Music Festival. I think that's like the beginning of June.
Hmm.
So we'll open up. I haven't got the schedule yet, but I think we're playing there on Saturday, whatever the
Mm,
Saturday is. And I think it's Kid Rock or Jelly Roll, that will go on. I don't know if we'll go
mm.
on right before them or, a few acts before them, but we'll be in the mix there somewhere. And then we have another gig called the BCMF, which is in Wildwood, New Jersey,
Oh well.
which is much closer to my hometown. And we'll probably play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday because it's like a weekend festival. So
Hmm.
I think they'll probably utilize us a bit more there. And it's a fun time. You get the big giant stage. You get the sort of the medium sized stage. You get the little stage. You get so it's just a fun weekend, man, to connect with everybody and get out there at the t-shirt stand and
Yeah.
sign some stuff and meet some folks and have a beer. It's all good.
Right. Right. What's when you go, is that kind of your favorite part when you get to do like festivals where it's not like one day in and out, but you're kind of there for the experience? Is that meeting with the fans kind of like your favorite part, or what's your
I
favorite
mean,
part about
yeah,
it?
it's I love to do that. It's I had I started going by Bowman several years ago. They just
Mm.
rebranded me. I guess they just thought it sounded more country or whatever, but it still takes a little bit of getting used to. I feel like I'm in high school football again, where my coach is yelling my last name at me constantly. So it's strange, but yeah, that is part of the pleasurable side of it is meeting people. It's cool. It's cool when you're on stage and you see folks singing your songs back to you.
Hmm.
I think that's probably my favorite part.
Nice. I
Yeah.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it. So what did you go by before you kind of rebranded to just Bowman? Was it Jeremy Bowman, or did you have like
Yeah, it was
a
Jeremy Bowman. Yeah. And then
uh,
we went through, the label when I signed on 2 years back. Somebody had the bright idea of like, let's just go by Bowman. Um,
nice.
and yeah, so it works, I think it's a little bit easier for people to remember.
Right. And it's catchier. Like it's just like people remember the name Bowman.
Yeah, well, it's the idea.
Yeah.
I'll
And
take any help I can get.
right. I feel that. It's one of those things where it's like I feel like they probably felt like people were just calling you Bowman anyways because it's like, oh,
hmm
what's his name? Bowman, I don't know.
hmm
Because that happens to me all the time where they're like, Quiet. I don't remember his first name, but Quiet. I remember the last name.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's it's a whole
exactly.
thing. I feel that. So kind of looking forward, obviously you've got all the shows and whatnot. If anybody or if people want to check out your music, stay up to date on all your shows, where's the best place to find you?
BowmanCountry.com. They can book through there. Um, I mean, I always tell people, you look hard enough, you can find me.
Fair.
Look out there on YouTube and Spotify and all the platforms. We're up there.
Nice. I
Yeah,
dig it.
yeah, man.
So really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with me.
Yeah,
Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch y'all later.
yeah. Thanks for having me.